We are up to episode 7, and Carol, heading home from Las Vegas to Albuquerque, drives the stolen police sedan through the desert. It is day 12. She pulls into an abandoned gas station, completely alone in the vast landscape. Inside, she presses 0 to call the Hive Mind, but they are still giving her the silent treatment. She leaves a request for a cold drink with an automated system. Moments later, a large hexacopter drone descends and lowers a single bottle of Gatorade exactly as requested. She takes a sip, grimaces at the temperature, and immediately calls them back to complain. It's not cold enough, and they need to do better next time. Inside the station, she finds a display of lottery tickets. She scratches one, not for the money, but for the simple, mundane thrill of winning. The ticket is a $10,000 winner, but she leaves it on the counter. Unlike the greedy Kumba, Carol still only takes exactly what she needs. Carol's long journey of self-sufficiency has evolved into a quiet routine. She plays golf alone on an empty course, unbothered when a bison wanders onto the green. When the trusty police sedan finally dies, she swaps it for a Rolls Royce, seemingly not for luxury, but simply because it runs and holds her supplies. She drives it to a natural spring and soaks in the water, finding a moment of peace. She stops at the Georgia O'Keeffe Museum in Santa Fe, admiring the paintings and taking one of them for her house. Using the Hive Mind's automated service, she orders a special meal to be prepared on a rooftop, recreating a specific dinner she once shared with Helen. She eats alone, admitting that the Hive can cook. Meanwhile, another freethinker, Manousos, continues his stubborn pilgrimage from Paraguay. He is a man of rigid principles. When he siphons gas from an abandoned truck, he leaves a single note of local currency on the windshield as payment. He drives a vintage convertible, meticulously plotting a course north on maps while listening to English lessons on the stereo. He is learning the language solely to speak to Carol. By the time the car can go no further, he finally knows exactly what he wants to say. The Hive Mind repeatedly warns him of dangers like dehydration, snakes, and poisonous plants, but he deliberately ignores their help. To prove his ultimate point, that they own nothing and he will accept nothing, he douses his car in gasoline. He sets it on fire, watching the language tapes and a religious icon burn, severing his last ties to the world he knew. Manousos continues his journey on foot, trekking through the dense wilderness. The Hive Mind warns him about a tree with poisonous spikes, but he pushes past it defiantly. This persistence costs him, though. He loses his footing, slips, and falls backward, impaling his back on the black spikes. In agony, he attempts to cauterize the wound with his cutlass heated in his campfire. But the poison works through his system the next day. He simply cannot go any further and collapses, bleeding and defeated. As he lies dying, he hears the sound of a helicopter. It's the Hive Mind coming to save him. He raises a weak hand, perhaps signaling for help, or perhaps just reaching up in his final delirium. Someone comes down to rescue him, but we don't know if he survives, and whether he was forced to join the collective to be saved. We now jump to the 48-day mark. More than a month has passed. The solitude that once healed Carol has curdled into a prison of boredom and loneliness. She is on an empty rooftop parking garage, hitting golf balls into windows of a nearby office building. She has a large assortment of commercial-grade fireworks. That night, she sits in an office chair in the middle of the street in front of her house and sets them off, as it appears she has been doing for a while now. The display is massive, with explosions lighting up the neighborhood. She sits in the middle of the chaos, her expression ambiguous. It is unclear if this is amusement or a reckless death wish. She aimed one of the fireworks directly at her. It fires, missing her head by inches, and slams into the house behind her, setting it ablaze. She seems utterly unbothered, watching for a bit while drinking some canned juice. She eventually turns on the garden hose for that house and puts out the fire herself. This seems to be her breaking point. The next day, she goes to a hardware store and gets a bucket of white paint and a roller. On the asphalt in the middle of the road, she slowly paints 2 words in giant letters: "Come back." She finishes and stands, looking up at the sky, waiting. A car drives up, and Zosha, the Hive Mind liaison, gets out. Carol stares at her, her carefully constructed self-sufficiency shattering. She runs to Zosha and collapses into her arms, breaking down in sobs. We are left to wonder if she broke from the crushing loneliness, or if the Hive Mind, in its silence, finally stopped answering her calls altogether, leaving her truly and terrifyingly alone, or if something else entirely transpired in the month we missed. The episode ends, leaving us to question if Manousos survived, and if his path ever crossed with Carol's during that 30-day gap.